This week in game news, a Tetris movie is moving forward, PAX South was announced for January 27th through the 29th, 2017, the Nintendo 2DS had a price drop to $80, the Steam Summer Sale will be held on June 23rd, 2016, SteamWorld Heist is coming to the PlayStation 4 and Vita at the end of May, Starbreeze and Acer have formed a joint venture for a virtual reality headset, Hideo Kojima fully unveiled Ludens, the icon of his production studio, Apple has rejected a video game about war from its store, but not for the reasons that you may think. Nintendo's president has said that the NX won't be a replacement to the 3DS or Wii U, but will be something totally new. We heard that line before regarding the DS and GBA, and the Talos Principle 2 has been announced. This is the Blackman and Robin Game News Update. First off, this week, Google held their annual I/O conference. They primarily focused on messaging applications, smart home technology, and information meant for developers. That said, they did talk a bit about Android N, the next version of Android, as well as its support for Vulkan, an API for 3D applications that's less CPU-intensive than OpenGL, meaning that it'll be easier for developers to make good-looking 3D games that run better on mobile devices. They also talked about solving issues for mobile VR with their platform called Daydream, which will help developers optimize VR games, drop render times for lower latency, and much more. Additionally, there's going to be a virtual reality mode built into Android N. More details on this are forthcoming. That's not all, however, as they revealed hardware plans. A Daydream VR headset, rather like the Gear VR, and a simple, specialized controller for use with mobile VR games is in the works. Google's Daydream VR is set to be released this autumn.
Oh, no, look at all this work. What will I do? How will I get it all done? Nobody will help me out. There's so much work on my desk. What will I do? Oh, I'd really love to help you out, but I just don't care.
In video game to movie news, it looks like the Tetris movie is really happening. Now set to be produced by Bruno Wu and Larry Kasanoff, this Tetris movie is set to start filming in China in 2017. It's going to be a sci-fi thriller. I really wish I were joking, but I'm not. It's actually happening, folks. From a business standpoint, it doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense. While Tetris has power as a brand, and it's recognizable by people who aren't big on gaming, it's not the sort of thing that people would expect a movie out of. Things like Halo and Mario even seem better suited to movies since they feature, characters. Tetris is a puzzle game, the sort of movie that I'd anticipate to come out of that would be some sort of abstract geometric art piece, not a sci-fi thriller. That said, I haven't seen the movie or read the script, and since it doesn't yet exist, I suppose I can't really criticize it. I'm not saying that I want to see a Tetris movie fail. I mean, I've been pleasantly surprised in the past by movies that I thought would be awful. It's just that, as an outsider looking in, a Tetris movie kinda sounds like a cash grab on the whole video game to movie phenomenon. Here's hoping it turns out better than Battleship. From a critical standpoint, Lila and the Shadows of War isn't the most amazing game experience you can have on a mobile device. It feels rough around the edges, its control scheme is imperfect, and its writing, while surprisingly touching, is far from perfect. That said, today, I'm not here to criticize a game. I'm here to spotlight a game which, in spite of being imperfect, is extremely important. Lila and the Shadows of War is set in Gaza in 2014 during a conflict. It follows a little girl, the titular Lila, and her father. This game, which draws a lot of inspiration from Limbo, is in many ways reminiscent of its aesthetic forefather. It's a monochrome experience, and death is around every corner. Unlike Limbo, however, which is somewhat vague about what's really going on, Lila and the Shadows of War makes it pointedly clear where and who you are and what you're doing. You're in Gaza. You're not soldiers, you're a family. You're witnessing war crimes, and you're struggling to stay alive. I got through the game in about 10 minutes and found myself crying. It was a brief experience, a simple one, but it was also surprisingly profound and stunningly painful. It's the sort of thing that serves as a rebuttal to the tired, indefensible argument that making an experience a game somehow negates it as a piece of art. And yet, Here we are again, thanks to Apple, which has blocked the game from being released on their App Store, claiming that it's not appropriate to be categorized as a game, and that it belongs in news or reference. This is not the first time that Apple has pulled such idiocy. It's not as though Lila and the Shadows of War contains content that's too disturbing for the App Store. Modern Combat 5 exists for Apple devices. It's bloody, violent, and certainly seems to be about war. What is Apple running from? Are they scared to let a game make a political statement that they don't approve of? It's not as though Modern Combat is apolitical. Just because Modern Combat is a schlocky, pulpy fiction doesn't make it any less political than Lila, a gripping, artful memoir. Right now, I can grab an iPhone and start shooting faceless insurgents, but I can't pick up an iPhone and share in the grief of Palestine because Apple has decided that one sort of experience is deserving of being on the platform, and another isn't. As stated before, this isn't the first time that Apple has rejected video games for fear of political repercussions. During the controversy involving the Confederate flag in the United States, the game Ultimate General Gettysburg was unceremoniously removed from the App Store as it contained the Confederate flag. Who would have imagined that an educational historical strategy game would have been put in the crosshairs of profits and public relations? Frankly, I'm not going to call this censorship. Apple's App Store is theirs to do with as they please. They have every right to decide what goes onto it and to decide what they reject. That said, they're choosing to reject something bigger than a whole mess of thought-provoking games, and they're rejecting something far more complex than a 10-minute experience. They're rejecting the notion that video games are anything more than simple entertainment products. Can a computer make you cry? It won't, if Apple has anything to do with it. We have more disappointing news this week, this time from Microsoft. Project Spark is shutting down. The game was delisted from the Xbox Marketplace last Friday, and the announcement was made that on August 12, 2016, the servers for Project Spark would be shut down. In case you've not heard of Project Spark, it was one of Microsoft's hottest offerings during E3 2013. Released for the Xbox One and Windows in 2014, it was shown off as a game creation tool. The strength of Project Spark is that it doesn't call for programming knowledge. You could create games from your couch. Project Spark turned out to be surprisingly powerful, a little bit like Microsoft's own version of Little Big Planet. Unfortunately, it wasn't a big enough success, and it eventually went free to play, without monetization, a little while back. Most players saw the writing on the wall when they realized that Microsoft wasn't making any money on the game. A free-to-play title with no monetization from Microsoft? Well, that's bound to be gone sooner or later. Right on schedule, its shutdown was announced. But hey, chin up if you want to make cool levels for an Xbox One game. The Forge from Halo 5 is coming to Windows 10. It's part of a special free edition of Halo 5 Guardians for Windows 10. I feel like it's a mistake to call this a special edition because while it's free, it's incredibly limited. It doesn't include the single-player campaign from Halo 5, and the multiplayer is limited to people on your friends list. You can't enjoy Halo 5's other multiplayer modes. You can only enjoy Forge levels with friends. That said, maps you create using the Forge can be published to the Xbox One version of the game, and the developers are promising that you'll have better command of the creative tools with the precision of a mouse and keyboard. Personally, I'm hoping that this opens the door to bringing the rest of the Halo series to PC. While there are PC ports of the first couple games in the series, the rest of the games in the Halo series, aside from a couple spin-offs, have been Xbox exclusives. If you've been contemplating Epic's upcoming MOBA, Paragon, might I suggest trying it during the free beta weekend from May 26th to 30th? If you sign up right now at Paragon.com, you'll be able to play on PC or PS4. Paragon is a third-person class-based action game, one of many being released as of late.
If there are any survivors out there listening, please respond. I'm dangerously low on supplies.
In game releases this week, Duskers hit Steam. It's a sci-fi game in which you play as a drone pilot. You have a few drones that you use to explore derelict spaceships. In Duskers, something has turned the universe into a graveyard, and it's up to you to find out just what that something is. It's a sci-fi horror game that draws on Alien for its atmosphere of decay and creeping dread, and it's finally out of early access after 9 months of intense development. I've played a bit of Duskers and must say that I love the game's concept and aesthetic. The gameplay is meant to invoke memories of old-time computing as you control your drones, piloting them through abandoned spaceships. The drones are controlled through a command line interface. You have to type out commands instead of just controlling your drones with a mouse. This can make the game stressful as you're hastily typing a command, trying to get your drones out of the way and shutting doors as some cosmic horror slings towards your lost little drone. I haven't played enough to form a proper critical opinion, though based on all the positive reception that the game's gotten from the press and players, it certainly seems to be well worth picking up, especially if you're into such games as Sunless Sea. Duskers is available on Mac, Windows, and Linux. If you're looking for a new party game, might I suggest Skyhook? Released on Steam this week, it's a game for up to 4 players that invites them to fight against one another with grappling hooks. If you're into games like Brawlhalla or Towerfall, Skyhook is absolutely up your alley. I got to play it at IndieCade East a few weeks back, where I also got to interview the game's creator. Well, the game's creator is a pretty cool guy, and the game itself is really awesome. To talk a bit more about the game, it features a number of modes including a free-for-all, team deathmatch, and what's called Capture the Swag, in which your goal is to hold on to a bag of loot for as long as you possibly can. If you're looking for a cool new party game, you absolutely must check out Skyhook. It's out now on Mac, Windows, and Linux. The incredibly prolific little publisher TinyBuild released a strategy game on Twitch this week. You heard right, Twitch. The name of the game is One Troll Army, and in One Troll Army, you play as a giant troll protecting a little army of goblins fighting off rats and rhinos. It's an odd premise, but I've heard good things about it. During the week, TinyBuild held an event on Twitch. Whenever players controlling the game through the chat beat the developers, the game's price would drop. Well, the game came out, and its price is nothing. It's totally free, aside from a bit of cosmetic DLC. Thus far, One Troll Army has gotten pretty good reception from the players. If it looks like your kind of game, you might as well check it out. It's not going to cost you anything except for a little bit of time and bandwidth. One Troll Army is out now on Steam for Windows. A lovely, chill bullet hell game called Soft Body was released on Steam and itch.io for Windows, as well as for the PlayStation 4 this week. The developers referring to it as a bullet heaven game, as it's meant to combine the more challenging elements of a bullet hell game with a laid-back atmosphere and casual gameplay. In Soft Body, you control 2 gooey snakes, and you must paint the world with their bodies. It's a strange puzzler, but it seems like a good fit for the PlayStation Vita, which it's set to be released on at a later date. If you're looking for a relaxing, pastel, bullet heaven game, check out Soft Body. And now for a brief word from our sponsor.
Here's a dirty little secret. When you wash your face at the end of the day, you might only be cleaning the surface of your skin. To clear those congested pores, you need a deep clean. And today, you can get it with Proactive's incredible deep cleansing brush. And here's something even more incredible. You get the brush free when you order a Proactive system today.
I love the deep cleansing brush because it really gets in those pores.
I was using a brush that was over $200, and I like this so much better.
This isn't just any brush. This is the only one from the doctors at Proactive, so it's specially designed for acne-prone skin. Call the number on your screen now to get America's #1 acne brand for just $19.95. Be among the first 500 callers, and you'll also get the deep cleansing brush free, plus more secrets for flawless skin. That's a $93 value for just $19.95.
You only have 2 hands, but you have a whole lot of bristles.
This is such an incredible offer that supplies are limited. Call the number on your screen now.
This week, the game Gemstone Keeper hit Steam Greenlight, and it looks quite cool. It's a top-down dungeon crawler twin-stick shmup. It calls back to the original roguelike games with ASCII art, and in case you need a quick PC gaming history lesson, the earliest dungeon crawlers didn't use sprites. They used ASCII numbers, letters, and symbols. If Gemstone Keeper sounds like your sort of game, I recommend you check it out on Greenlight. The developer plans on getting a playable demo ready soon if you'd like to try it out before voting. A game on Kickstarter that caught my eye this week is Ilios, Betrayal of the Gods. It's a Greek mythology-themed platformer that combines elements of the Odyssey with a steampunk world and Metroidvania-style gameplay. You play as Polites, the last survivor of the Trojan War, on a mission to defeat those who've destroyed everything and everyone you've loved. The developers are promising that the game will be available December 2017 for Mac, Windows, and Linux. If the Kickstarter is successful enough, they'll also produce an Xbox One and PlayStation 4 edition of the game. Personally, I love the look of Ilios. It's not often that Greek mythology and steampunk elements intersect. The hand-drawn animation looks fantastic as well, in spite of being unfinished right now. If you'd like to check out Ilios, we'll have a handy link to the Kickstarter on our site, blackmanandrobin.com.
Could you tell me more about Grandma?
In case you're looking for a good deal on a great game, might I suggest snagging the first chapter of the new King's Quest on Steam? In case you're unfamiliar with it, King's Quest is a whimsical old adventure game series that started a long time ago. It was famous for being fun and unfairly difficult in some places. Recently, the series started again, and it's less complicated, but a whole lot of fun, with gorgeous visuals and great voice acting from Christopher Lloyd, Zelda Williams, and Tom Kenny. The reason I bring the game up today is because the game's first chapter is now available to download for free on Steam. I played some of the game's first chapter and really enjoyed it. It's a pretty simple adventure with a great sense of humor, fun puzzles, and a lovely aesthetic. In the game, you play through the memories of an elderly adventurer, recounting the days of his youth as a story for his granddaughter. I confess, I'm not too familiar with the older King's Quest games, but I suspect that if you've played them, you've probably already gotten around to playing the new one. It's being released episodically, and the game's third chapter came out a few weeks back. The game's remaining 2 chapters are still in development.
What have you gotten yourself into?
You have a bow?
Don't all princesses?
This week, Batman Return to Arkham was announced for the Xbox One and PlayStation 4. Set to be released July 26, 2016, it's a collection of Batman Arkham Asylum and Arkham City with all DLC. Previously released on the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3, these open-world crime-fighting games put you in the rubbery black boots of everybody's favorite emotionally scarred vigilante detective Orphan. You run around beating up criminals, exploring strange locations, rescuing people, and upgrading gear. It's video game Batman at his best. We have screenshots and more details at blackmanandrobin.com. Having played Arkham City and a bit of Asylum, yes, I'm playing the series out of order, I must say that they're both great games, even though they each play a little differently in some aspects. For instance, even though both games have straightforward main stories, Arkham City is a lot less linear and features many more side quests than Asylum. That said, I like some aspects of the visual design of Asylum better than City. Now, these 2 games in the Batman Return to Arkham collection are being remastered a bit in the Unreal Engine 4, which is a bit of an upgrade. You can expect some new models, some new textures, etc. It isn't a massive overhaul, but it should be enough to bring the console version of the game up to par with the PC version. Finally, we have a shiny new animated short from Blizzard for their upcoming game, Overwatch. Blizzard has been pumping out these shorts left and right, and they reveal the world and characters of the game fantastically well. It's an interesting way of telling a game's story. For Overwatch, this makes sense, seeing as it's a multiplayer-only action game. Valve has done something similar with its Meet the Character shorts for Team Fortress 2. I just really love these Overwatch shorts. They're so good that they work as standalone movies on their own. I can't wait to see more of them. Overwatch is coming to the Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and Windows on May 24, 2016.
But the 2 brothers argued over who could better rule their land. Their quarrel turned to rage, and their violent struggle darkened the skies, until the Dragon of the South Wind struck down his brother, who fell to earth, shattering the land. south wind had triumphed. But as time passed and he realized his solitude, the sweetness of victory turned to ash. For years, the bereft dragon's grief threw the world into discord. And he knew only bitterness and sorrow. One day, a stranger called up to the dragon and asked, "O Dragon Lord, why are you so distraught?" The dragon told him, "Seeking power, I killed my brother. But without him, I am lost." The stranger replied, "You have inflicted wounds upon yourself. But now, you must heal. Walk the earth on 2 feet as I do. Find value in humility. Then you will find peace."
You are not the first assassin sent to kill me. And you will not be the last.
You are bold to come to Shimara Castle, the den of your enemies.
This was once my home. Did your masters not tell you who I was?
I know who you are, Hanzo. I know you come here every year on the same day. You risk so much to honor someone you murdered.
You know nothing of what happened.
I know you tell yourself that your brother disobeyed the clan, and that you have to kill him to maintain order.
Well, that's it for this week's game news. For all the latest game news, reviews, previews, and interviews, be sure to follow us on Twitter at Blackman and Robin. You can also follow us by the same handle on Instagram. You can follow me on Twitter at Jordan_Cameron for my own views.